Alright guys, so this is Crimson Dot the Gamer, and today I'm bringing a video about my system basically. And there is this guy SuperShade98 who told me, basically a few people told me why I was going with a two RX 580s 8GB Sapphire Special Editions in Crossfire instead of getting a Vega 64. And the reason that this is that the Vega 64 back in 2017, when I first started building my system, it was costing $500. That's one, right? And second, it was a underperforming card. For what it is, it should be better, but it's not. Back in that day, there was no custom-made cards. It was just blowers from companies like MSI, Gigabyte. There wasn't an Asus card at that time. Even Sapphire made a blower-style Vega 64, and these were pretty much it. Like, there was this one right here, and pretty much they all looked ugly, to be fair. The only one that didn't look ugly was the Sapphire Vega 64, the FXX. I mean, no, there was no Sapphire, my bad. It was the FXX one. Not this specifically version, it was a different one. It looked like this, but it was a blower, basically. And it sucked, because there it is. There it is. This one says MSI, but I saw FXX version of this one. So, I don't know, it seemed like a reference blower version of the Vega 64. That's all it looked like. I mean, they had a Gigabyte version of this, Azrock one. There was many different ones, and it was awful. I mean, look at it. Like, look at the graphics. They were selling all over the place, and it was a stupid blower. All right, it was overheating. It had a really high power consumption, and it was ugly. It didn't look appealing at all. So again, why am I spending $500? And it was underperforming compared to a 1080. Like, it was really underperforming. The GTX 1080 was kicking its ass. It could barely overclock because it was a blower. So why? Why should I spend that much money for a card like this? You know? Makes no sense. And then he told me, oh, why didn't you go with the Vega 64 liquid cooled? But the problem with the Vega 64 liquid cooled is that, one, it was barely outperforming the GTX 1080, right? And yes, it overclocks better and all these things. It was liquid cooled and all that, but it was barely outperforming the GTX 1080, and it was the same pricing as the GTX 1080 Ti, which doesn't even compete at all. Not even close. It doesn't even compete even close with it. I mean, even with the liquid cooled one, I bet it doesn't even compete with the RTX 2070. The RTX 2070 in most titles will kick its ass. Still. So, why did I go with the RX 580? Well, first off, it was the Special Nitro Plus. That's the best lineup in all of AMD graphics cards right now. It's proven even with the Vega 64s. Like, oh yeah, before I get to that. It's proven even with the Vega 64s that it was just better, right? Now, some people might not know what a Sapphire, because all they hear is RX 580, right? RX 580 is RX 580. Well, not quite. I mean, the Sapphire Special Edition RX 580 8GB, right? Nitro. Oh my bad. That's not what I wanted. 8GB Nitro Plus. This is how it looked like. It's a really long name, but this is how it looked like. It had a nice fan, right? Nice fans for cooling. A huge sink pipe. When you look at it. Look at the sink pipe. It looks like a freaking motorcycle engine or something. Yeah, it was clocked at 1430 megahertz, and it was a great card for what it was. It was really good at stock speeds. It was 1430. You can overclock even further. Some people actually managed to get it to 1500 megahertz stable, no problem. You know, It's well within the range of being able to do it. See, I mean, you can't see the picture, but I bet this guy overclocked it here. The 15. No, that's not even for the Nitro Plus. Never mind. But point is, it was good. It had good cooling, good overclocking for what it was for a card, and it's the best on the AMD lineup. It's even better than the Asus Strix, or just as good as the Asus Strix for this lineup. Yeah, I mean, why shouldn't I buy this card? I mean, not only one, but two, for much less price than a Vega 64, and I decided, I should just buy two of these. And for the most part, I'm very content with the performance, but yes, there is a problem. Obviously, there is a problem with Crossfire. Not every game is going to run it. There's going to be some stuttering in the games, but that's just about it. All the games here that you see, right, they all run perfectly fine in Crossfire. And in some of the games, I used to play GTA 5 until they, not GTA 5, Overwatch, until they cut off the Crossfire, but I think they're going to fix that. Anyways, when I was playing it, I was getting about 1080 Ti level of performance. Rise of the Tomb Raider, I was comparing to a 1080 Ti on 1440p, and it was overclocked, alright? It was overclocked, and it was doing, it did 110 FPS. My two graphics cards, 1450 megahertz, right, was, did 113 FPS. So it's about 1080 Ti performance in some games. I mean, in Shadow of War, 1440p, I saw a YouTuber posting, with the RTX 2070 performance, and on very high settings, ultra settings, essentially ultra settings is, Shadow of War, you got 80 FPS with the RTX 2070, right? And guess what I got? Same FPS on Crossfire on Shadow of War. And same performance I'm getting on GTA 5, RTX 2070 level of performance. Same thing with Diablo 3. Rise of the Tomb Raider, and if Overwatch ever has Crossfire again, it's going to have the same performance as a GTX 1080. 1080 Ti. Now, the reason why I get so good performance, well, one, they are pushed to the absolute limit, the RX 580, so much so that they're very close to RX 590, the RX 580 that you see right here. In fact, I could pretty much say it is RX 590 for $200. It runs at, you can push it to 1500 megahertz, great cooling, doesn't overheat. It even has less wattage. Less wattage than what the Vega 64 blower does. I can guarantee it doesn't push any more than a Vega 64 blower. Oh look, he probably messaged me again. Oh no, some other YouTuber. Never mind. That's not the point. So that's what I'm trying to explain. So that's why I went with two Sapphire Special Edition RX 580s, 8GB, back in 2017, because there wasn't technically anything good that AMD launched. The Vega 64 was an underdeveloped card, while the RX 580 is a great developed card at the time for the price. And the Vega 64 is underdeveloped card for the price. It's just the way it is. The only card that was developed really well was the Vega 64 liquid cooled, and that one cost as much as a 1080 Ti, so no reason for you to buy it. Because you could buy a GTX 1080 for a much cheaper price, and it will perform almost identical to the Vega 64 liquid cooled. It was barely outperforming it by like 5%, 6%, something like that. There was just no reason for you to buy that card, and the GTX 1080 Ti for the same price, it was greatly outperforming that card, greatly outperforming it. So that's all I have to say. So the point is, another point that I also want to make is, what if they had the custom-made Vega 64 graphics cards? What if they actually had that? Well, if they had this, right, back in 2017 it got released, it has triple fans, great cooling, less power consumption, like everything is just great for this card, and it is much cheaper than a liquid cooled card even right now when you buy it. And yeah, I would have actually bought it. In fact, I would have bought two because of Crossfire. Why not? Back at that time, I would have bought two of these cards. There's also Asus ROG Strix one, but personally, I believe this is the best one you could buy out of the Vega 64. It's been proven, and this card actually outperforms the Asus Strix graphics card. Really, it does. Now, yeah, I would have actually bought that graphics card if it was made during that time, but it wasn't. Like, there was no Gigabyte ROG Strix one with custom cooling, and there was no Asus Strix and Nitro Sapphire Nitro Plus with custom cooling at that time. There wasn't. That's just it. There was none of these cards. They didn't exist at that time, which is why I think it's justifiable why I got the RX 580 8GB for Crossfire. I mean, they're good, right? They're good in cooling. They're good for the price. They can overclock really good. They don't overheat, right? They don't overheat compared to the blower version of the Vega 64. And you're getting all of that for $200. In fact, you could have gotten another one for $220. That's what they were selling at the time. $220. You get another one for $220, and boom, Crossfire that would actually outperform a Vega 64 back at that time. Way outperform it. In the games right here that you're seeing, it's gonna beat it in any of those games, right? Games that use Crossfire. In games that don't use Crossfire, of course, a single RX 580 is gonna lose. But that's not the point. The point is, if there's a few certain games that you play, and the only games that you play use Crossfire, then yes, why not go Crossfire? I mean, it seems logical why I would go with the Sapphire Special Edition RX 580 back in the day. Then I would go for the Vega 64. Now, if I didn't have my system already, and if I was building a completely new system, and because I don't feel like I wanna just disregard my RX 580s and to pay two of these cards, because then it's just gonna be a waste. Because I don't know what to do with my other RX 580s, sell them for $150. That's gonna be kind of a waste there. So, and besides, I'm content with the performance already. For 1440p, they're doing really good for these games, and there's only a few games really that I'm waiting for that are coming out. Doom is one of them, right? And Devil May Cry, that's it. Those are the games I'm waiting. And the only other game I'll probably buy to play is Monster Hunter World, and that's it. Those are the good games. Battlefield 5 is a bad game. It's bad. It's a bad game. I mean, for what you're getting for the money, they're cutting out a lot of content in the game that you should be having. They're basically restricting the gameplay in there. So again, why are you spending that much money for a Battlefield 5? And not only that, but Fallout 4 76 is a bad game as well. The only good game that I've heard so far is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is a good game, Square Enix. I mean, I rarely see them make any bad game. In fact, I've yet to see a bad game released from Square Enix. And second is Monster Hunter World. Those are the two games really that are great right now to buy. It's just not really much of a choice there, is there? Now, the last thing I want to talk about, besides about games and my RX 580s, why I choose them over the Vega 64, and why I didn't want it to go with a Vega 64 blower or a Vega 64 liquid cooled. Now, he told me, why didn't you just buy the Vega 64 and buy a custom cooled solution for it? You know, just change the reference cooler and just put a custom cooler on it. You know, that's what he told me. And my answer to this is, if you're buying a $500 graphics card, right, brand new, you're spending $500. I mean, personally, that's not, you know, a little amount of money they're spending for a GPU. I mean, if it's $100, $200, sure, but you're spending $500 for a GPU, all right? Second, if you, when you spend it, right, and if you change the cooling, like instead of being a blower, just change the cooling and put 3 fans or something like that so it can cool better. Sure, but you're gonna avoid your warranty, and that's something I like to avoid personally. And on top of that, there's a hassle, you know, paying extra money for the cooler and then changing the cooler, right? And just taking it, and there's also a chance that, and no matter how much of a chance it is, there's also that chance that you take to actually damage the card when you're changing the cooler. So those are 3 reasons why I wouldn't go changing the cooling on the actual Vega 64. 1, it costs $500. 2, I'm gonna avoid my warranty. 3, I have to buy a fucking cooler. And 4, I could probably damage it. 4 reasons actually. 4 fucking reasons why I wouldn't do it. Now, if it was a used graphics card, sure, why not? Why the fuck not? But at the time, Vega 64 got just released in 2017, right? When I was deciding to build my system, it just got released, and there was nothing but blower style coolers. And third, there was really no way you could have gotten a used Vega 64 at the time. Now, those are my reasons. Now, if you like what I talked about, like my comment. You know, if you don't like it, dislike it. If I've done something wrong, tell me, because I don't know how to fix it without you telling me. And those are my reasons why I went with my Special Edition RX 580s instead of going with a Vega 64. I mean, knowing what I knew at the time, it's perfectly logical why I would go with the Sapphire Special Edition RX 580 8GB or even the Asus Strix. You know, it's perfectly logical. It's a good graphics card for $200, and it's a great overclockable card and has great cooling. If they had that on the Vega 64, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would buy it. And it's not even an ugly card. It's a nice looking card. The Vega 64 was fucking ugly. It didn't even look like a $500 card. It looks like a fucking $200 card at best. Look at it. So it's an ugly card. Like, not only is it ugly, but it underperforms. Like, there's so much potential for Vega, but the card was just limiting it because of the cooling and the way it's made. Simple. So yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Now, if I'm building my system today brand new, I would definitely go with a Vega 64, a Special Edition for $500, or maybe even used. I would buy it used even, if it's in great condition. I mean, before I buy it, I would personally go to this guy's house, check it, if it's in good condition, right, and buy it from him, right? Like a card like this, of course I wouldn't pass. You know, especially getting it for much cheaper. Even the Asus ROG Strix is a good one. It's a great card. But personally, I would pick the Sapphire Special Edition Nitro Plus because it actually looks even better than the Asus one. It does. It looks better. It looks like it's made out of the future, and this one looks like it's like a tank. Pretty much a missile or something. This one looks it's made out of the future, like it's a robot or a robotic part or something like that. So yeah, that's just my personal opinion, and these are the reasons why I did what I did. And personally, I think most people would understand why I chose the Sapphire Special Edition RX 580 Nitro Plus 8GB card. Man, that's a handful to say. So yeah, peace guys, until the next YouTube video.